Pilot season reference. The do your own research anti-vax talking point really lines up with the libertarian you should be an expert in everything talking point. Should we do the Bret Weinstein thing now?
If you want to.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, really, what that does, do your own research, is go into the propaganda channels that we can, further brainwash you in.
Yeah, exactly. You've got a phone. You know that you're aware that you're in the internet. If it's on the internet, it's got to be true. It is amazing to me to watch. Like, it's one thing, you're an individual and you're vaccine skeptical, but it's another to be somebody who has no expertise in this, no real data, and then go on and encourage people to be skeptical of the vaccine, particularly at this stage.
Well, before we got vaccinated, we were incredibly pro-vaccine, but also very cautious about what we said. Even so.
Of course.
Basic responsibility.
Because we feel a responsibility to our audience.
Exactly. Here is a
for lawyers.
This is a video of about a man, Leslie Lawrenson, who died of COVID on August 6th. And he posted a video on Facebook of him stating, this is before he died, right? When was this video posted?
This is, I think, when he had the symptoms.
Okay, he posted this on July 28th. He died 8 days later. Here he is.
I've got a very high temperature. This makes some pain, some shivers, cold in my extremities. It feels exactly like a cold, maybe a little bit worse. When I stand up, I feel like I'm going to fall over. I can't remember if I've ever had that. Whenever I've had a cold before. I hope I've got it. I hope it is COVID. Because I'd rather have the antibodies in my blood than take the jabs. Anyone who knows my opinion, anyone who has followed my comments on my Facebook page knows what I feel about the jab. So this is an update on the vlog that I made yesterday. I've already posted on Facebook that last night was pretty dreadful. The symptoms that I had at 11:30 had massively ramped up. I don't know how long, probably about 6 hours I spent in a fetal position, trying to block out the pain. It was every part of my body was racked with the pain. If these are things that we have to suffer, it's part of living. You have to trust your immune system, and if the alternative is that we live in fear, that we create a bogeyman out of something that hopefully I'm showing isn't anything to be afraid of for 99.9% of us, we've got to deal with that, and we've got to make the government aware that that is how we feel. People get flu, people get colds, people endure it and then get on with their lives. That's the way it's always been. COVID-19, in my view, and from what I've experienced so far, is nothing different. But the dangers, potential dangers from taking the experimental jab, for me, are not worth that risk. I'd rather take my chances with
my immune system. All right. A couple of things. I just want to make it clear, this is not to piss on this guy. There's a couple of things that are really important about this. One is he wanted to do this as a teaching mechanism.
Right.
To show people that this is no big deal. Now, maybe he had been in the fetal position multiple times with cold or whatnot. And so we're going to play it because he was dead 8 days after he had posted this. He was dead of COVID. And you notice how he was saying, the potential dangers of this experimental jab, and I'd rather take my chances. And it is perfectly within people's rights to take their chances with things. But he doesn't know what his chances are. And the question is why? Why is he so fundamentally wrong on what his chances are? Cambridge educated, smart person. Why is he so wrong in assessing what the chances are of him dying from taking the vaccine or dying from COVID? And he looks at, he's well into his 50s, seems to me. And as you get older with COVID, your chances of death increase dramatically. I don't know. Maybe he's I don't know how old he was. But
58.
58. And so his chances of getting seriously ill with COVID versus his chances of getting seriously ill with the vaccine. And that's what it's all about. Listen, it's impossible to imagine a vaccine where there are no side effects. Same with every single medical procedure. You go in and get your wisdom teeth out. There is no doubt in my mind that there have been complications with people getting their wisdom teeth out in the history of getting their wisdom teeth out. You go in for any routine surgery, whatever it is. You could take an aspirin, not realize that you were allergic. Like there's risk associated with everything that involves medicine, really anything we do in life. And we make a choice in everything we engage in weighing those risks. How did this guy have such a skewed notion, and it's not just him, as to what those risks were? Let's look at his Facebook. Well, let's look at we know. We know because he's talking about posting this stuff on Facebook. This is where he lives.
People need to watch this. Red Pilled on COVID Vaccine is the name of the title, and there's somebody in the center there who people may recognize.
Yeah, that's not a title from the Dark Horse itself. That's a clip posted by somebody else called Red Pilled on the COVID Vaccine. It was an extended clip from the Bret Weinstein show.
And this guy,
views?
We just saw, oh my God, it's millions.
Oh, that show particularly?
That
No, that clip.
That clip has in the thousands, but that show has more than that.
And so this guy's posting this. This is not even what he consumed. This is what he's promoting now. He's bought into it so much. Is there another picture? Do we have more? Let's see what else he was promoting. He was convinced was the truth, where he got his assessment as to what his chances were. Well, this is about ivermectin, which I guess has now been proved not to have any impact.
It's the new hydroxychloroquine, basically magic bullet treatment. Which, I don't understand why we're trusting ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine, but not the vaccine.
Well, because it's been around for 40 years.
Oh, well,
there have been more.
It's experimental. We trust scientists to advocate for the efficacy of different drugs we're going to put into our bodies, but not.
Do we have one more picture? Let's put this one up. These are just things that he...
of course.
You're blocking. Leslie Lawson, why is this information being blocked? And it's the big tech censorship of ivermectin.
Because it's online.
Live stream 82. What is that? What is live? Oh, wait. What's that?
Horse.
What's that thing up in the corner there, right above the tape, over the B? What is that symbol?
That's the Dark Horse podcast.
Wow, he was really into that show.
Yep.
Well, let's look at this. Let's look at this clip of Bret Weinstein with Dr. Robert Malone, who introduces himself as the inventor of the mRNA, not the mRNA COVID vaccine, but the mRNA technology. That is a controversial statement in and of itself.
Yeah.
And researcher Steve Kirsch, who's an engineer, just an engineer, which, I'm not an engineer. That takes some skill, but he's an engineer. Do we have this segment where Steve Kirsch talks about how he came across this?
Yeah, this is in fact from that the Red Pilled on the COVID vaccine clip we mentioned earlier.
And is this where he's talking about his carpet cleaner?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I want to see if anybody sees a problem with this. Okay.
Oh, okay, sure. So it got started when my carpet cleaner came and he was wearing a mask. And I said, "Hey, we're all vaccinated. You can take it off." And he said, "I just got I got the Pfizer vaccine and I had a heart attack 2 minutes later." And so he spent the night in the hospital, and he says, he's kind of recovering from it. And I said, how are you doing now? And he said, still, feeling bad about it. And he mentioned also that his wife, also her hand, she'd, hold a glass like this, and her hand would be shaking like this, and the water would be coming out. And she was perfect before. So I have two people. We have very few people in my house because of COVID. So the fish guy, the carpet cleaner, and the house cleaner, right? And so to have not just one person, but him and his wife, I mean, that is like lightning striking twice in the same place.
And that is the basis upon which he's convinced there's something going on with the vaccine. Now, here's a story. Lightning does sometimes strike within like 100 feet of each other during a thunderstorm. And to then surmise that there is some type of broader lesson to be learned from that is not science at all.
It's like running into somebody that you know in a place you didn't expect. That must be on purpose. Yeah, that's science.
It's not actually science that lightning doesn't strike twice in the same place. Otherwise, we'd have a big problem with the tops of buildings.
I mean, and then based upon this, and
and the other guy that claims to be like the father of mRNA also casting his aspersions. Like, what lesson would a guy like that take from this?
Of course. And the fact of the matter is that we have how many vaccines? How many vaccinations have we done now in this country? Not even full ones. Like, I mean, how many have been, is it 300 million doses? 400 million doses?
No, I mean, we have 330 million people in this country.
Yeah, but people are getting double doses.
I thought you meant first round. Sorry, at least. So this is what I think is so fast.
357 million doses of the vaccine. 357 million. Now, we have over 600,000 people who are dead in this country from COVID. We know this. And we also know that it is more than likely undercounted. More than likely undercounted. We know this by comparing year over year deaths. And we just know that's what the epidemiologists say. Now, maybe they're all in the big pocket of big COVID, big virus. But that's what the epidemiologists say. Here is when Bret Weinstein had to reckon with the idea that his misinformation made that guy, Leslie Lawrence, and, who knows how many other people out there, right? But we just know Leslie Lawrence because he was so adamant about it.
And his family, I should say, found out about those videos that he was posting and sharing when they were looking for pictures for his funeral.
And this guy's assessing his chances. And he's clearly been consuming a lot of this
Dark Horse podcast
where the guy is like, I'm a PhD. I am a doctorate.
I have authority, and I'm also clearly quite wealthy because I have a fish guy to clean my aquarium.
Well, that's the engineer. That's not Bret Weinstein's the one who was hosting.
Oh, no, I know.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
But still, they're going on the podcast speaking with authority about things, and they have consequences.
Here is how Bret Weinstein responded to the critique that, hey, man, you're putting out misinformation that is literally killing people, that is literally making them misassess their chances of getting COVID and dying versus getting the vaccine and dying. And here's put up this is when he responds to it on air.
The tweets are directly to it. So let's maybe put the tweets up right now. If you have those, Bradley.
He responds, this is him 2 days ago. This has always been about life and death. I've been clear about that. COVID is a dangerous disease. I've said so often. But lethal as SARS-CoV-2 is, the capture of public health, drug safety, academic medicine by an industry that's fueled by a disease makes it even more dangerous. What the F does that mean? Is he implying that it's like it has completely disoriented all of the people involved in this, and all of people who are involved in medicine, in academia, and in clinical? They're all just in the throes of something that I can
Bret
see
Weinstein,
it. I can see it. I am protected by the cone of the dark horse. And I am not in any way swayed by this. In fact, I have an engineer here who had a carpet cleaner.
And a fish guy.
In his car. What are the chances? And they're all in the pocket or mesmerized by big COVID. And they can't see what I can see. And I'm going to say it in a calm manner so I don't seem like an absolute raging lunatic. Put up his next thing. So here he is. I take Mr. Lawrence's death seriously, but no more seriously, but no more seriously than those of Jacob Clinic and Simone Scott. Jacob Clinic is a 13-year-old boy who died within a day or two of, I think, his second dose of vaccine. Lived in Michigan. This happened in July. It's unclear on why he died. Well, keep that up for a sec. And Simone Scott died in June, sometime after getting vaccinated. Unclear why she died. Also a teenager. He takes Mr. Lawrence's death seriously, but no more seriously than those of Jacob Clinic. Well, first off, you would think you would take Mr. Lawrence's death more seriously just by the very fact that this guy had gotten all the information that he based his choice on from you.
And that his family is saying that his misinformed views led to his death and him not getting the vaccine.
And we know that Leslie Lawrence died of COVID. It's not a question of taking the death more seriously or not. Yeah, they're all dead. But which of those were preventable? Which do we know for a fact were preventable? Which one was based upon a choice that one of those three made, an active choice where they thought they were making the right choice? It's quite possible that those two children who died of the vaccine,
or after the vaccine,
rather, we don't know if they died from the vaccine. We don't know at all.
But he's able to draw he'll draw that conclusion, but not the statistical overwhelming conclusion about the vaccine's efficacy in preventing serious illness and death.
First off, he's saying that they died from the vaccine,
which I don't even think
there's
their
no
families
proof
are
of.
saying. Yeah,
there's no proof of. There's 100% proof that Lawrence died of COVID. And so he's equating those two realities, right? Like, you talk about misinformation about chances. In fact, there were two people who died.
It's 2-1.
Two people who died, he says, of the vaccine. Only one who died of COVID. I mean,
the global
in his tweet, by the way, exactly. This is all based on his tweet statistics, not global statistics, not national statistics.
So 4.38 million people documented who have died of COVID, and it's probably 2 times that. I don't know. That's not in his analysis whatsoever.
Not to mention long COVID.
Mm-hmm.
The two people who may have died, in his mind, but definitely did die of the vaccine, in his mind, and there's only one that died of COVID. And so, if I'm the next Lawrence and I'm trying to assess my chances, what's the assessment I'm going to make based upon what this guy's putting out there?
Well, he had a doctor on, an engineer, and that's ultimately it. When you're a Cambridge educated, whatever you are, who consumes their media online, as long as there's a doctor attached to it, that's all that matters, Sam.
I mean, look, if I wasn't skeptical, I mean, if I wasn't skeptical of, if I didn't know Bret Weinstein, and I tuned into that and I saw these like calm people talking, and
I mean, Bret has so much content. It's not like these guys have his viewers have enough time to watch other stuff, because he does like 2 hours a day. I mean, not to. I mean, we also do that, but like this is probably like the best source of information. I mean, I say the best, the most significant and time-consuming source of information these people are putting their attention toward.
Well, it's also
really amazing to me that somebody could live with themselves like that.
Oh yeah,
I think it's like an identity, though. Like if this guy went to Cambridge and you look at Bret Weinstein's his audience and the way he's trying to portray himself as a pseudo-intellectual with the Jacob, what's his name, Peterson, or what's his name, Peterson, the horrible guy,
Peterson.
Jordan. Oh my God, Jordan Petersons of the world. It's like an identity, and they can't get off. I mean, we all know people like this. At this point in the pandemic, if you're that attached to such flawed logic and you're simultaneously trying to portray yourself as being a pseudo-intellectual, like they must be losing some audience.
Well, the Cambridge thing doesn't matter to me. Like
I think he's gaining audience.
These institutions are just
You think so?
institutions are completely. I mean, like Fugazis or whatever. But like
I agree, but it's like an identity. Like, oh, but I watch, of the people that I watch online, I'm not watching Tucker Carlson. I'm watching Bret Weinstein and the
that's
doctors.
The thing with these new brand of like kind of intellectual dark web types, they use and weaponize credentials and academia and the credibility that they can glean from that in order to build up their own pseudoscience and thus enrich themselves. And like you see that to a degree that I think is exponential in these corners. And
the critique is built into their message, which is we're being censored by big tech. Yeah. And so when that is like delivered as part of the knowledge you're passing on, you are building in the critique. And the critique is like, hey, the vast majority of people who have looked at this think that you're out of your mind. Well, that's because, like I said earlier, big tech is censoring this. And they're building in the critique, and it creates this notion. And there's a lot of people out there. There's always been a huge market for it. And now we have the technology to deliver it to people even better, right? I mean, this is why Alex Jones was so big. This is why we always had conspiracy theories are so big. It is people who are looking for some special secret truth that is accessible only to them, and it is self-flattering too, right? Like, I mean, because this is like, I have the special truth. Nobody else has the special truth.
And
I have my oracle who's giving me the special truth, and they're doing it despite the fact that all the powerful forces don't want us to know the truth. I mean, it all sort of like becomes self-reinforcing.
The scarcity of it too increases the demand because you're the only one breaking through, and thus you have to come behind my paywall or whatever. So,
but I'm not even talking necessarily just for Bret Weinstein. I'm talking for, the Lawrence guy too, because then he becomes centered in this story where he is going to save people around him. That's why he's posting it up there too. Like, it gives him the opportunity to be the oracle in his family. And it is just like, it is preying on people. It is preying on people, and it
also gives people agency against a narrative that they feel is dominant, right? So that's like they have this actionable counter narrative that they feel like is precious, and they are the only ones that have access to it. And then, well, I'm going to be proven right until I die.
But it's also it is something that is actionable at a time where the pandemic has made people feel powerless.
Right.
And you're fighting against a force of nature, and these guys are giving you the key to fight back.
And my paranoia or my mistrust of authority is actually a virtue, and it's going to serve me in this scary, turbulent time.
I mean, that's it. It's like there's a lack of trust of any, and with with all due respect to the institutions, our institutions have failed us. And so we're ripe for predatory. I mean, the last 20 years has been ripe for this kind of behavior to prey on, a middle-aged guy who went to Ivy Leagues, probably trusted institutions, didn't, I don't know what ended up happening in his life, but there's something in which he saw it and then latched onto it. This is how it works now, right?
It really is fascinating. Like people who are say they're seeking truth and facts. It's just a scam that makes you feel good about yourself.
Here, play that last clip of Bret Weinstein and Heather Heying on Dark Horse. This is from August 11th, where they realized, it's not our fault.
In essence, you will find many people saying, well, lives are at stake, and what you're saying on your podcast is going to result in the death of people. And this is, on the one hand, as we ourselves have said before anyone else said it about us, obviously there are lives at stake. And so we take this very seriously. On the other hand, it is cheating to hold us responsible for this. The correct honorable way to do this is to recognize that lives are at stake in the public health policy questions and your personal health decisions with respect to how you choose to protect yourself from COVID. That is true. What that means is that a great deal rests on how the evidence is interpreted. And it is true, you can certainly protect yourself from the accusation that you will be responsible for other people's health consequences and possibly deaths by not saying anything. That's true. You can simply not say anything, or you can embrace. Pause it.
I love the idea that it is selfish for you to actually not provide information that is really just completely speculative when it comes to the life and death. It's selfish. You can protect yourself from that, accusation. That's what he's saying. You're a coward.
If you don't accept the broad consensus by scientists, right?
If you say nothing,
video.
if you say nothing about the skepticism, you are just protecting yourself. You're a coward. But the implication is, Bret Weinstein, I am not a coward. I have a higher principle beyond any type of responsibility I feel about not putting out misinformation in a life or death situation. And that higher principle is, I should just say what's on my mind.
It's like David Goliath mythology. And then they want people to glom onto it. And then, of course, they're the only ones that benefit in the process, though.
It's predatory. I mean, all of this stuff.
It's also diluted here, but we keep playing.
You can simply not say anything, or you can embrace the conventional wisdom as dispensed by public health authorities, and then who could possibly hold you responsible? On the other hand, you've watched those public health officials fail again and again and again. And we can talk about why they might be failing. There are at least two reasons on the table. One of them is incompetence, inability to read what is taking place in the world. The other is corruption, which is something that you and I have talked about from the beginning. And both of these things are rendering the advice we are being given publicly feeble. So the question is what to do about it. If you're in a position like we are in, do you talk about what you see, or do you keep quiet so as not to be blamed? Right now, my feeling is we are morally responsible, not an option. To the extent that we believe we can see something that is failing about the public health analysis, we are morally required to engage in talking about this.
Oh my God.
You are not required to listen. You are certainly not required to extrapolate from anything that we say on this podcast and adjust your behavior. You can just listen into a discussion. Imagine it's a seminar taking place in which we are talking about whether or not the public health analysis makes any sense. Now, if you find yourself persuaded.
This guy's just psycho. I mean, this is just absolutely psychotic. He is now claiming that he has a moral obligation to say these things, but thinks that there's absolutely no impact on what he's saying. It's completely like I just have a moral obligation. I'm a tree that just develops this fruit, and does so in a way that doesn't have to conform with other people's sense of like what is healthy fruit. And it's my moral obligation to do this, but I have no control over whether someone picks it up and bites it.
I'm a tree that grows gummy bears, and I'm going to claim that it's fruit and that it's healthy for you. And if you say that it's not a gummy bear, that it's actually an apple, then you're trying to censor me.
So
wait.
Days when like these quacks would get in trouble, they get fined, they get the actual doctors, and he's not a doctor, but the doctors who would share this stuff would actually go to jail for this kind of, the actual doctor.
He's got a doctorate.
Oh, maybe there's a loophole here. The doctorate of bullshit philosophy.
There's one more clip I want to introduce into this. And this is from a while back where Heather and Bret were pushing this study.
Are they married?
Yes. Or their partner.
Oh, what a lovely marriage.
Yeah.
They were both at Evergreen too.
They talk very low. And
so this was a story that was quickly retracted, and the University of Poznan distanced themselves, that said that 2 vaccinated people died for every 3 deaths prevented. The Bret and Heather completely ran with this. And we have this next clip here is them talking about the retraction, just the bitter way that they like wanted it to be true. And also, I will go back, I just retweeted as Bradley's getting that ready. Bret defended Bill Maher back in the day when he was going on his anti-vax stuff, and PZ Myers get into it. So this looks like a long theme with Bret and anti-vax stuff.
The first is this Wallach et al. 2021 paper that we talked about. Both of us had seen it. Neither of us had read it. We mentioned that what it had found effectively was that the vaccinations for every 3 lives that they were saving, for every 3 lives that they were saving, they were actually costing 2 lives. This paper has in fact since been retracted. There are enough problems with it. I don't think it's worth going into all of the problems with it.
Over the course of COVID, we have seen papers retracted that didn't need to be retracted. In this case, the methodological flaws are real flaws. And so I think the retraction is absolutely warranted.
Sometimes now, basically, retractions are a political move in which activists get to
Pause it for 1 second. This is fascinating. Okay, let's just be clear here. They were promoting a piece that they hadn't read. The implication being, of course, if we had read it, we would have seen that it would have been that there were methodological problems. But of course, we should also tell you that not only do we want to mention that this retraction is there, so we've covered ourselves, because it's our moral obligation to have presented it in the first place, even though we didn't read it. Because it's our moral obligation to react to headlines, and it's not necessarily up to you to actually say anything. I don't know why they felt obligated to retract it, to talk about the retraction, because it's not their moral obligation to do anything other than just ruminate. That they somehow feel like they have a responsibility to their audience at this point to retract it. But at the same time, we just also want to let you know that retractions are sometimes not really retractions. Sometimes they're done for corrupt reasons and for political reasons. So who really knows? There could be some truth to this thing, even though there's methodological problems, which I just state because with confidence, even though there's no reason to believe that they ever read it even now. Right? Like, if you didn't read it when you were promoting it, why would you read it after the fact? No, they read the retraction, said there were methodological problems, claimed that they also agree that there were methodological problems, which implies that they read it and have the ability to assess methodological problems. So even their announcing that there was a retraction on something they ran with adds to their credibility.
Can't lose.
And you're telling me that this is not masturbatory, huh?
I would just say that this is the guy that about a year ago...
It would be masturbatory if what they were ejaculating wasn't killing people.
Yeah, exactly. On that point, Bret Weinstein over a year ago added Sam and TYT, said that I need to not facetiously say that he was consulting with a DHS goon fan about Antifa race war, and that I should be terminated my employment because of the obvious danger I was engaging in. So I don't know what this is. Nobody has to listen to what you say on Twitter. You're just morally obligated to say that. Yeah, I think there's some obvious danger going on when you have guys, 50-year-olds, not taking the vaccine and saying, everyone needs to watch this a few weeks before dying.
Is he worried about his audience dying? Just for the most selfish reasons.
Are you kidding? There is a massive, massive market for this, and he's just tapping into it. He's doing, I guarantee you, the moment he saw a dip in his YouTube numbers and he could associate it with this, he would tack away from it.
Yeah, yeah.
He's morally obligated to follow where his YouTube algorithm leads him. I mean, God.
Remember in the early days of COVID, like you'd get knocked for saying like anything about COVID, anything. Do you remember that? Like the first week you just get pinged and they'd be like, oh, you can't talk because we didn't know enough. Meanwhile, this mother effer is on there saying stuff that is indisputable with quack doctors and engineers of who knows what. And people literally are dying. His audience actually is dying as a result of his consultation.
Yeah, Left Reckoning got a misinformation strike because we were making fun of a PragerU kid who said that this was all a hoax. And this guy is just regularly going up there saying stuff that's turning people in mass away from the vaccine.
He's being censored, Matt. Censored.
Matt. He's saying it in a voice like this.
Oh, no.
Which makes it seem like he is actually being thoughtful about things.
Well, Sam, I am an academic. I have a degree. And
you need to drop your register just a little bit.
A little bit more
and
NPR
slow
type.
Down a little bit. And then you'll be able to speak with credibility about the same stuff that Alex Jones is.
Because do you see, I am above the fray in terms of emotion, so I do not get too high, I do not get too low. I can speak with credibility on anything when my voice is this quiet.
If I heard that one
literally
of our
can't fake that.
Joe Biden has a weather machine.
If one of our listeners died and their wife was going through their Facebook looking for funeral pictures and they came across things that like content I produced that led to their death, I wouldn't be able to sleep. And I'd feel sick to my stomach for weeks, and Bret's just indignant.
I won't even talk about like financial, like even ruminate on financial advice, because I would be like, I don't want to be in any way responsible for having someone,
lose money,
lose the savings on something. I mean, never mind. I mean, like honestly, like if I was in that, well, but that's why I wouldn't be in that position.
But that's the whole, I mean, listen, this just exposes their entire industry right there. Like the fact that he has no remorse at all, like no real remorse, just exposes who he is.
And the fact is that there's a bunch of them.
Of course. But here's like, okay, yes, he has a calm voice. It's very NPR, whatever that Alec Baldwin episode was on SNL. Remember that? But simultaneously, there's also the screaming people. And so they're covering their bases.
I mean, I think it's just like people just, chasing cash is basically what it's with, chasing, clout and fame and whatever it is. Folks, there's more of what you've just saw where that came from. That's if you hit the subscribe and like button. Thank you. Really, thank you.